Welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. Hope you're all doing okay. So I think this is probably going to be the last video on the actual war updates and wartime sort of videos and how that's going, because we had a fireside on Saturday and basically the invasive war of us going from, let's have a look, us going from, you know, over down here and taking the space in Scalding Pass and Innsmother and Cache. I think the invasive war, or the invasions part of the phase of the war has been concluded. And hate on it as much as you want, Goonswar won the invasion war because Horde, probably because they'd seen it before, decided not to pull back and let everything burn. And once we've burnt everything, once we've destroyed everything, get bored and then we'll retreat back. But I don't think they counted on us moving our stager to here. I don't think they counted on that. I assumed that their leadership were believing that we would get bored, burn everything down, leave it, and then they can just move back in and take it again, and it'll be a tug of war. But essentially, the invasion phase of the war is over. We have settled in here. We have started putting upgrades in. We have started structures going down. We're waiting for indexes to go up for a jump bridge network. So as you can see, we still don't have any answer plexes up. So we don't have any jump bridges kicking around as of yet. So getting around here at the minute is still pretty much just Titan bridges and gates, which is interesting to say the least. So I think as far as the war goes, the invasion phase is done. We won that phase because they pulled back and thought, you know, we'll just keep it, we'll just let them burn it and we'll move in after. By the sounds of it, we're not going to invade drone lands. I don't think that was ever on the cards to actually invade drone lands itself. I think what's going to happen now, which will probably be featured on a lot of videos going forward, will be these engagements, which I do have some recorded already that I'm going to start editing this week. We do have there's going to be a lot of engagements of us going into the space, hitting stuff, and seeing what damage we can do. Just permanently getting fights now. It is now interesting though that Fraternity on one side have been not hitting but are constantly roaming in here. Horde have heard from someone in Horde that Horde have been fortifying this side of their space by pulling big expensive stuff out of Geminate, like the faction Fortizar that we saw on anchoring, the Keepstar we saw on anchoring, pulling that stuff out of there, moving back and fortifying their borders. I think what Horde are doing now is smart by fortifying both sides here, because that's going to be the main avenue of any form of attack via fleets or a future invasion. I can't see anyone invading drone lands anytime soon. I think it's just a case of we can now get, which has happened recently actually, we can, you know, mid Blops fleets to here, jump into drone lands through the gate, and then we've got Blops range all over here. So, and they can do the exact same thing to us. So I think there's going to be a lot more Blops fleets going out, a lot more roaming gangs fleet going back and forth, just killing each other in general. I don't think there's going to be any soft warfare from either side. I think they may come and troll and just reinforce the system now and again, which has been happening actually, but there's no sort of fight to contest it once it's coming out of reinforce. Apart from maybe a Scepter fleet or whatever, or a T1 cruiser fleet. Seen a lot of those lately. I don't think that's going to be happening anymore. But on the on the flip side of that, there is a lot more on the channel coming now. So we do have constant PvP fleets that are going to be going into here. I do have some other things lined up for fleets, and maybe even some public fleets to go out on, which could be pretty interesting. Depending on where we end up actually, because we've got all of this down here, so if we filament, there's a good 50% chance we're going to end up in our own space, and that is, you know, the downside of being such a big group, but it is what it is. And we can always use wormholes to get around to a targeted area that we fancy. But yeah, now I do want to turn my attention to Delve and Querious in particular, because first of all, I will touch on the sob things again, because I said I'd come back to them. So as you can see, The SOV reshuffling is still going on, so we've now lost another 33 systems, which have handed over to Brave, Dracarys, Out the Blue. Those guys are starting. There's a big reshuffling going on, so Goonswarm are from, what was it, 500 systems? Bloody phone. 500 systems a couple of weeks ago, down to, or was it 620 systems, I think it was, down to 477, and there's obviously still more to hand out on that. So like Immensia is now being transferred. I believe some Tenerifis is still being transferred. Innsmother, I believe some of that is as well. There's a lot being transferred around at the minute, so I think there's going to be a bit of a reshuffling, and then obviously indexes start going up and whatnot. It's being done over time to make sure that there's always jump bridges to still get around, so you don't just nuke an entire region and then you've got no way in and out through answer plexes. So you do like a constellation at a time and move answer plexes around so you can still navigate your way around. There's been quite a bit of fighting over in Querious. So this SOV has kind of settled in here now. So you've got these guys here, Onlyfleets. They have got that constellation, that constellation, that constellation, and this one. XDeath have also got here. There has been some updates about all this actually, which we are going to go into now. I've had thankfully I've had a few of you guys popping into Discord and just filling in the gaps on my knowledge. Excuse me, filling in the gaps of my knowledge about all these fights that have been going down. So let's have a look. Hang on. So I did have a member of Onlyfleets. He messaged me and basically gave me their rundown, because I believe I've got someone from the opposite side as well. So basically they said we plan to move to Delve and Querious, which are Blues, XIX and SG, Siege Green and Legion of XDeath, when we was asked to move by the Imperium. During our move, we were informed by XIX that Phoenix, who are in Delve, also moving into the area, and we'll be working together to help secure space in the regions. This started out fine. Fights were had with Phoenix helping us in fights versus RMC, which is another coalition, and the Streamer Coalition, BMD, Luna and Zerg, and us helping them see fights below. Let's have a look. So there was Can I Bring My Drake and Synergy of Steel. So these are some pretty cool fights here. So you got 30 billion lost that side, 10 billion lost that side in Querious. We've got another one here. So these are just a collection of fights that have been going on. They're not obviously massive, you know, hundreds of billions of numbers, but they're much, much smaller groups. But these fights are still really good to have. So you've got Red Alliance, you've got CVA and friends and whatnot. Then you've got Onlyfleets, who actually fielding quite a nice fleet, actually. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, Onlyfleets have been fielding some pretty damn good fleets. Like Nightmare Fleet is a really good one. Mercurial Fleet from Can I Bring My Drake got nuked by the looks of it. Yeah, they really did get nuked. Holy crap. So during time of negotiation, of space distribution was being dictated to us by them with no compromise, only allowing us to take 3 constellations only. Not long after these fights, Phoenix Cartel becoming quiet and wouldn't reply to bat phones and other things, so had to start fighting mostly alone. CBR. So we've got some Zenitras on the field, 113 billion lost, 80 billion. So Onlyfleets fielding some caps, quite a few dreadnoughts and some force auxiliaries, so versus dreads and stuff like that. So that's, I mean, caps on grid is always fun with some nice faction battleship fleets. And then there's a video here. Onlyfleets, one night we moved across the universe. I will link this. There's a lot of I'll link this in the guy's channel below, so you can watch this yourself. It looks like pretty good production quality. Let's have a look. Some nice cinematics. Very nice. Where's this? Oh, and it's in low sec as well. Yeah, so I'll link that video below, so you guys can watch it at in your own time. After this fight had been leaked to us that Synergy of Steel had told people to stop helping us and that we planned to backstab them. Obviously, there was no intention of this and continued as normal. There's quite a bit of drama going on already. At this point, Phoenix had stopped attacking the Streamer Coalition in Delve, as we were unsure why, as the idea for them was to take all of Delve and period basis. XIX started to attack small groups in the area that we had left alone to being content to the area. We was going to stay out of this as we did when XIX removed Hype Train from the pocket they just took. XIX versus Kick would have been a good fight for both. However, XIX backphoned Phoenix to help them versus this small group that was respected for what they had done in the area, after also being displaced by the Imperium. They proceeded to reinforce their staging fort, which we do have a clip of. We didn't like this after realising that Phoenix and XIX had the intention of creating a new block with us, basically Fire 2.0, and then bullying small groups from the area. This goes against our core beliefs at Onlyfleets, as the belief that blocks are bad for the game and refuse to join one. Fair play. We want the ultimatum. We sent an ultimatum to Phoenix and XIX, and they intended to bully small groups instead of getting on their stated goals in Delve Imperium basis. Onlyfleets will defend Kick's fort at the timer. As you can imagine, this caused a lot of friction between us and the resetting each other, resulting in a fight that you saw in ZAU. This one. So some dreadnoughts, some nice numbers of that stuff dying. Fraternity just coming in on the kill mails. So that's a good brawl as well. Some faction battleship versus faction battleship with dreadnoughts as well. Nice. Very, very nice. Also a vid for a little storytime backstory. I'll link that below as well. And there's some multiple BRs. Oh, 652 billion ISK lost. I think, actually, I've already got this one up because it was a bit... Yeah, so here we are. So this is the same fight, but I managed to... I spoke to the guy and I managed to get them all split off and who's what group, so they're not all mixed into two. So this is Onlyfleet. Snuff came along for some reason, because why not? And it was basically Synergy of Steel. So Phoenix Cartel, Legion of Exdeath, and friends versus Onlyfleets, Can I Bring My Drake, and some friends, and then naturally the Imperium and the Initiative were there in like Kiki fleets and stuff like that. Which, so I put them on their own because they're third party, so they don't add to their losses or anything. So you can see kind of how it went down. Fairly even. There's only like 9 billion between it. Fairly even, to be honest. When you think of like all these dreads that are on field and faction battleships. Pretty cool fight. And it deployed caps, quite a lot of caps by the looks of it. I don't know who they were fighting though. Fanatic Legion brought some nightmares. No, Death or Glory. Sorry about that. Death or Glory brought some nightmares. Brave brought a rock fleet, Raven fleet, and it brought quite a lot to this. I'm not sure why. I think it was just maybe to third party on a big fight like that because that's what in it do. And especially as it's being on their doorstep, so might be a good one to do. So also, Brave Keepstar was killed by Brave. So their last Keepstar in E3O, which is now is the full evac of all assets, bar maybe a couple of small structures kicking around of Imperium forces out of Delve and Querious. Querious still has some Brave systems, but they're left unattended. They're not being defended. So I'm surprised that they are still actually there. But yeah, they're slowly being taken anyway. Which is interesting that they've lasted that long. But there's been a lot of fights going on. There's definitely interesting things happening around here. I'll see if I can bring up the Fortizar stage timer that was on about. So which one was that one for? So this is when the fleets. I was here. I was here cloaked, just as someone seen me. I was cloaked, just keeping an eye on because there could have been a fight in 3-J. There could have been a fight. So this is Legion of Exdeath bringing their bar guests and all that sort of stuff. Nothing really happened. I think there was some ships that got caught. Some Legion of Exdeath. Was it Legion of Exdeath? I can't remember. So Luna were killing. I think it was Legion of Exdeath's rock fleets. I believe. Pretty sure of it. Snuff brought some ships in as well. So yeah, there was these rocks were getting absolutely murdered. And they just caught some stragglers on there. There's no other fighting apart from that. Then they all warped off, and there was nothing more to be had on that Fortizar. So you can see they're all sat there chilling. The Fortizar repaired. End of that operation. Done. Did Querious? Yep, done that. Space Monkeys Alliance. Unfortunately, this alliance has been around a very, very long time. It was founded in 2009, just before I started playing, and the other day it is now completely disbanded. A lot of the old veterans will remember Space Monkeys Alliance from various places around the universe. They used to be quite a well-known alliance. They kind of fizzled out in the last few years, but it's sad to see a well-known old school alliance dying off like that. You know, it happens. People move on and so on, but yeah, it's still sad to see at the end of the day. So this is this is all over the place, this video. I do apologize. So this is what I got sent. So former members of Freedom Republic joined Phoenix Synergy in order to secure space down Aquarius Imperium base. It was agreed that certain space would be designed. Hang on, have I read this? So it was agreed that certain space would be divided in Querious for them, them being XIX, Siege Green, and Onlyfleets. But as far as I understood, Onlyfleets started inviting other groups to Querious and taking space away from XIX and Siege Green, and I think even proposing that they would completely move out of Aquarius and instead into Delve. This part might be wrong. So Synergy and friends and XIX went to reinforce the Fortizar to start taking space back for XIX. After reinforcing the Fortizar, Onlyfleet said they would defend it, so all standings were reset with them. So to defend the Fortizar, they teamed up with with Drake and friends and Mimitar Fleet and all those little groups. They gave space to fight us Phoenix. So this is interesting. This is two opposite sides here. So it's nice to see how, you know, the narrative is... how the narrative is different from opposing sides. So now if they're going to continue to team up in the future, I don't know. So now if you do any of those information, don't show in my Discord user. Yeah, obviously, if you give me information, I'm not going to show who it is because that would just be wrong. But I do have people giving me information, so I do show it. I do talk about it. But again, I'm not going to show who actually gave it me because that would be wrong. But... on the whole, there seems to be quite a lot of drama unfolding in and around Delve and Querious, which is always going to happen when new groups jump in and start wanting to make a name for themselves and take space. And, you know, so I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to keep reporting on the ongoings here. If anything kicks off up here, I will be reporting this up here as well. I will get a character up there. I do have a clone in Venal, actually, now I think about it. So I've got multiple clones in Venal, actually. So I can get up to that area relatively easily for any fights or anything like that. But if you do happen to hear of any fights or any wars going off or something that, you know, might escalate, let me know, because we can always get in there and make a video about it. Oh, one last thing just before I go. It was quite nice to see that... that there was a Cayman, which is a faction dreadnought, destroyed. This was in Innsmother. It was a triumvirate Cayman. He did also have friends that were there to tackle stuff for him. He jumps in, nukes whatever. I think it was a dreadnought doing a crab beacon. He nukes it because I believe he's anti-capital. No, he's not. He's Forfeit. Wow, interesting. He's there to just nuke stuff, but you know what? I don't care if it was lost or not. Props for him for jumping something like this. Pretty much being a solo cap as well, because there was just support ships like T3 cruisers. Props to him for jumping that in. So Commander Talk, congratulations on having balls that needed to be carried around in a wheelbarrow for jumping your Cayman faction dreadnought into Goon Swarm space when Beehive is up. You know, that you've got balls of steel, my friend. But, you know, you undock it. It's not just sat on a shelf collecting dust as a trophy. So props to you. Congratulations. So, that is it for this week's video on the wars, as I said. So just to quickly recap, we are going to be winding down the actual 5th, 6th, 7th week at war, because we're not really at an invasive side of the war now. It's more of a perma war, so we are constantly at war with them now, which means there's going to be fleets going over there, and you damn bet sure your ass. Yeah, that made sense in my head before it came out my mouth. We're going to make sure that we're going to get videos on it. We're going to be trying to get on as many fleets going over here as possible, get loads of PvP fleets, and we'll break those fights down and talk through bits and explain bits. And obviously you can always skip those bits if you just want to see that. I'll try and get Fleet Commander's comms in there, because I know some of you guys really like that. And we'll work it out from there. I do have more interviews coming. I am just waiting to hear back from another 3 people for this week's video. If I don't hear back from them, I will make sure that there is 100% there is one for next week. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. It's kind of sad that the war only finished in 7 weeks, but it was never going to be a big war up here. It was never going to be an invasion into drone lands, and I think Horde members were told to pull back and we'll hit them at the walls. And then that never happened. We just took all these regions off them and just said, you know what, that's it. So I don't know. I kind of feel a bit bad that Horde members were denied a lot of fights where they could have been fighting for stuff over here, but their leadership told them to pull back, move everything, and get ready to defend the walls, and we were never going to go for the walls. So, I don't know. I mean, that's my opinion. I feel bad for them, but, you know, they might be happy about that. They might be happy that they've pulled everything out of here, abandoned these regions, let us take it, and then they can just be in a state of perma war now, which is good for everyone, because that means there's more fleets going back and forth. All the time, hopefully. I mean, I've seen a lot of fleets going out. We do have our beehive, our cover is our cover fleets for people making money here is now active. So anyone that drops anything on a dreadnought, super, Rorquals will now get dealt with swiftly, like that Cayman did, because our defense fleet and umbrella fleet is now active again, which is really nice, because that means I can start getting out and making money again, which is good. But guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And yeah, just keep an eye out for some PvP videos coming now. So that's probably going to be a lot of what we're going to be doing. We've also got some, you know, other bits of videos to do, but I hope you stay around to watch them, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next time.